Okay, I'm sorry this review is late. I did it yesterday, but I didn't like how it turned out. I missed some stuff and I went back and I thought about it and I said, okay, I missed some stuff, and I always like to bring the best reviews that I possibly can to the viewers on here. So let's get into it. So Lady May, she's at her friend's church, Maxine, and so she's out in the waiting area, the lobby, and was listening to a sermon that was up on the screen, a sermon that Maxine was giving, and so the assistant finally tells her, you know what, go on in. So Maxine is played by Patti LaBelle, and they reminisce just a little bit, and then finally Lady May gets into the point why she was there. She tells Maxine, years ago you were right, and now I'm divorcing my husband and I want to go back to school and I want to start my own church. And Maxine's like, well, you start your own church, you already got a perfectly good one. And basically she's like saying, well, you put in all this work as first lady, just take over what you already got, and that's easier than trying to start your own church. So Lady May goes home and there's a party being planned, and the assistant from the church, Corinne, she's planning all that out. And James, he invited some people to the party. He invited Jacob and another bishop that he was inviting people to the party that he knows that Lady May would want there, or to try to persuade her to call this whole thing off. I think he was trying to make the party essentially for her, so he can stop this whole divorce thing, which he sped up by trying to manipulate her. So later on, he gives this speech, and it's super sentimental. It's everything. And from what I could tell, it looked like Lady May was, sort of, calming down about the whole thing, and maybe, just maybe, she would have reconsidered. But Rochelle steps up, and she's clapping like this. Very sarcastic. Her face was just not pleasant at all. It's just like it was mocking. She was mocking the whole speech and just trying to stir up more trouble. And so Lady May wants James to get rid of Rochelle. So he goes over there and he's just saying, you know what, we talked about space, and I don't want to do this. And Rochelle starts acting as if she is hurt. She's saying, well, you're pushing me away. You called me to go to the hotel with you and all of this stuff. And she's putting on a really good act, because we know that it's all an act. But nobody else knows as of yet. None of the Greenleafs or anybody knows yet. But she's putting on a really good act. And so it appears that she left, but then she ends up talking to Clara, and she's trying to get out of Clara why she has money tied up with the Greenleafs, because earlier there was a conversation with Grace, and they discussed, oh, well, maybe you can put some money into Grace's program. And Clara said, well, no, I've got money tied up with the Greenleafs, or she said with Calvary. And so Rochelle was trying to probe and find out what was going on there, but Clara said, well, no, it's personal. And the way Rochelle turned it off was like, okay, well, if I was your money manager, I would tell you to be careful with your money and figure everything out, sort of like vet everything. And so that seemed to, like light bulb, instead of a light bulb, to Clara. So let's see where else we want to go down. I'm trying to make sure I get everything in. My notes were a little bit out of order, but I'm gonna try to. So let's just talk about Jacob's family. So Carissa, she wants to send Zora to boot camp in Oregon. And of course, Jacob is not for this at all. But I think Carissa, she's just, she doesn't want to deal with Zora. I mean, for her, it's too much. It's just like, I send a little brat to boot camp. That's the attitude that Carissa had. I mean, it's almost like what I was getting from Carissa, she almost had like a step-parent attitude towards Zora at this point. It's like, I don't want to deal with this. Off to boot camp with you. So Jacob discusses it with Lady May, and doesn't set right with her either, and she says, okay, well, I'll handle Zora. She wouldn't dare disrespect me. Jacob tells Carissa about what he discussed with Lady May, and she's not for that. But she's going to be for it pretty soon. Because because Zora has a conversation with Sophia, because Sophia had been out in the car with her boyfriend, and he wanted to go much farther than Sophia was ready for, so she just shut all that down. He was mad, like, he said he wasn't angry, but you could tell he wasn't, so he left. And so she went in and talked to Zora, and Zora was in a room on the computer, and she was telling her about what happened, and she said, well, I'm not ready to go that far, I want to wait for marriage. And Zora's being real sarcastic, like, what is the big deal? She's almost like, just do it, it's no big deal. And just being really sarcastic and snarky and all that. And Sophia, she sees on the computer that Zora had been talking to Isaiah, and they were coming up with some sort of plan. And Sophia just, she was reading her like the riot act. She's trying to figure out what's wrong with Zora, and because why it is baffling why she wants to be with somebody who hit her. But there are situations like that where people want to be with people who have hit them and abused them and all that. But anyway, so Zora ends up calling Sophia God's little bitch. And that set it off, and Sophia's like, what did you call me? And she starts kind of like, she kind of like is goading Zora, she pushes her and that just ends up in a fight, and they're kind of like pushing back and forth, and it didn't go into a full fight because Carissa comes in and she's like, what's going on? And and she sees the computer and she says to Zora, you were on here, and this plan that she has with Isaiah, Carissa tells her, you are not moving in with him. And Zora's like, well, when I'm 18, I can do what I want. You can't stop me. I'm going to be with Isaiah. And that was what persuaded Carissa, okay, let her stay with Lady May, because at the end of the episode, or towards the end of the episode, she's dropped off over there, and we'll see where that goes, if Lady May can get her in line or not. So, let me make sure I'm getting everything in. Okay, so let's talk about Charity. So Charity is not answering her phone. Kevin's trying to get in contact with her, and he wants to call the police, but Aaron's like, no, let's hold off on that. That's a big step. Let's hold off on that. And so he ends up at the party at the Greenleafs, and him and Aaron were not dressed for a party. They just look like they came dressed as they were, just for hanging around the house. And so he's trying to figure out where Charity is, and Grace, well, I don't know. She's on tour. But Kevin had found out from Jabari that, of course, Charity is not on tour. So Kevin now knows that she lied. And Grace calls her up, and Charity is just sitting by a pool and just having a good time. And I don't even know if you can call it a good time, because she looked like she was, somewhat in the midst of a nervous breakdown. I mean, she's sitting around like she's having a good time, but she didn't look well. And so, she won't tell Grace where she's at. And Kevin tries to grab the phone, and or he does grab the phone, but Charity hangs up on him. And he once again wants to call the police, because she was still telling that lie about being on tour. That's what she told Grace. And so Charity's in trouble, because at the end of the episode, the very end of the episode, she's up there in this place singing "I Will Survive," and she was going in on it. She was like, when you're singing real good, you're making the faces and all that, and she was doing a good job with it. She pretty much was giving Gloria Gaynor a run for her money on that song. I'll say that. I'd like to hear, Deborah Joy Winans, release that as a single, because I liked how she was singing it. And the police show up. Charity Greenleaf, we need to talk to you. So Charity's in trouble, and Charity's not the only Greenleaf in trouble, because we see Grace at the church looking at a newspaper, and it has a headline about the IRS probe. So as that is out, and so that one deacon that we always see from the board, she comes in and she says, okay, well, if things really go down, Grace, you take over as head pastor. Calvary is Greenleaf, and we are smart enough to know that at the deacon board. So you take over as head pastor, and so that's gonna put Grace on a collision course with Lady May. But the thing of it is, I don't know if Lady May will have much of a leg to stand on, because she may go down with James in this IRS probe, because after all, it was her brother that was bribing this person at the IRS to, overlook their tax bill, what they owed the IRS. So that was the episode. I thought it was a good episode. I thought it was very good. I can't wait to see what happens on the next episode. So, leave a comment below if you got something to say. And as always, like and subscribe. And I will see you the next time. Bye.